There's nothing quite like the feeling of utterly, completely, and totally annihilating a boss just to hear and see that beautiful of a unique dropping to the ground.
And then there's nothing like the incessant rage you feel when it's not the one that you wanted.
Hello then everyone, and welcome, as today we go over how you can best get in record time all the uniques that you would ever need for all of your builds going forward in Season 2. Because, well, we actually have a definitive proper way to go after uniques now, and it's shockingly effective. Oh, and if you're wondering what the Sorcerer build that I am absolutely ruining the bosses in this video with, I will link it down below. It is up on the channel. Like, when they said that we were going to be able to kill bosses and then uniques would drop, I really took that to mean, oh, okay, so I guess they've got like a maybe 0.5% increased chance, so woohoo! But no, not even close. So today then, I want to go over each boss, how to best farm its special ingredient to actually summon and face it, and where all of them actually are, along with everything else you need to know in regards to this entire unique farming machine. Hell, even uber unique farming machine, as we've already had multiple of them drop, and that is kinda ridiculous that in a couple days of Season 2 we've seen more uber uniques in the entirety of Diablo 4's lifecycle beforehand. So before I take you through each one, let's talk why you really do need to care about these guys. First and foremost, ignoring uniques for a second, the gear that they drop is ridiculously potent. It is skewed to a really high item power, and you will likely get some really nice pickups. For example, I am currently walking around with a 925, which is the new item power cap weapon, with a 908 offhand, thanks to doing these bosses. I've only killed them about 12 times or so now. It's really that consistent. You also get about 4 to 6 legendaries per kill, so you do end up farming aspects really hard. But yes, the uniques is where it's at, and so far from all of our testing, they have a roughly 50% chance to drop one of the uniques from the pool for your class. And so far from my 12 kills, I have gotten 7 uniques, 6 in my stash here, and 1 that I'm wearing, 3 copies of Esu's Heirloom, no copies of Raymond of the Infinite, but that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. But to use an actual example then, with Varshan for Sorcerer, he can drop the Staff of Endless Rage, Esu's Heirloom, Raymond of the Infinite, and then Frostburn and Mother's Embrace. That is 5 uniques. With a 50% drop chance, that means every other kill I've got a nice 20% chance, so 10 overall, of getting Raymond. That is incredibly consistent, all things considered, and why they are so relevant. So I think it's about time to break them all down then. We're gonna go then in order of power / difficulty, starting with the 2 that are also in World Tier 3, Nightmare. Starting then with the one you are probably already most familiar with, Echo of Varshan, our Malignant remnant, and thankfully that's the only remnant of Season 1 still around. This then needs you to get 4 specific body parts: his bones, his head, his hand, and his heart. The heart is only needed on Torment and can only be gotten on Torment, but regardless, you will get one of them randomly when you open a Whispers cache at the Tree of Whispers. They can also drop from the grotesque debtors that will spawn after a world boss, and they can also rarely drop in the Blood Harvest. You can, as well, transfer any of them into any other. By that I mean, if you go to the Alchemist, you can give up a hand, a bone, or a head to randomly have a shot at a hand, bone, or head. So if you have 2 hands, 1 bone, and no head, well then give up the hand, hope that it turns into a head. If it's a hand or a bone, re-roll again, and so on and so forth until you have 1 of each. The hearts you can change into any of the other 3 specifically and deliberately without any RNG involved. So once you have 1 of each of his parts, and the fastest way to get all the pieces is to simply sit in Blood Harvest doing Tree of Whispers, turning in the Tree of Whispers while making sure to go to every single world boss. There's no kind of cheat code for this one. Once you have all 4 parts, head to the tree, because the dungeon for Varshan is right next to it. Head on in and go through to the end where there will be a little boss arena with an altar in it. Give the parts to the altar and you will summon him. He is not too challenging really if you're in any kind of proper build, even at low level, and basically just don't stand in the zones on the ground. Classic don't walk through the fire boss tactics. Once he is down, well, you can collect your rewards. Now, every single one of these bosses we'll be talking about does have a specific set of uniques that they will drop for each class, and a few from the general shared pool. For the most part, I'm not going to run down every single possible drop for every class, as we'd be here all day, but I will make sure to link down below a resource for that. So that is Varshan then. Let's move on to Grigoire. He is from Helltides. What you want to do is, well, go to a Helltide. I know, absolutely next level guide content. And instead, Helltide, you want to farm 300 cinders and then go find a specific chest. Now, these work like the mystery ones in that there is a handful of set spawns and only a couple of them will be up when the Helltide starts. You can use the various sites that track Helltides and will report where the correct chests actually are based on people confirming it, and that way you know exactly where to go. But if you don't want to do that, well, you're wandering randomly till you bump into one. You'll know when you see it because there will be a big old elite with a blood bubble around him channeling into the chest, and, well, the chest itself will be one of steel. When you click on it, you will have to kill the elite, and then you can actually click on it properly, spend the 300 cinders, and get your reward. The reward in question being living steel. You will need 2 on Nightmare and 5 on Torment of this to actually summon the boss, and the chests give 3, so you need to do 2 chests on Torment to have a go at Grigoire. Once you do have your 6 then, and this is really literally just farm 300, open a chest, get 3, you still get useful materials from the chest on top of the living steel, like the enchantment supplies, though you don't get random Legendaries, so do bear that in mind. You still want to go for mystery chests if that's what you're there for. In any case, when you've got your 6, you want to head to here. The Hall of the Penitent. Once inside, just like Varshan, run to the end and you'll get to the boss arena with an altar to place your materials in. And when you do, you will make him appear. He is all about lightning, and you can therefore prep by socketing in some serious lightning resist into your jewelry, which will make this significantly easier. But past that, the only attack that's really dangerous is the circle slam that he will try and repeatedly do. Make sure you don't stand in the connected lines of lightning, and generally you will be fine. There are a few adds to deal with as well, but he shouldn't take too much killing, again, even for an early build, as long as it is min-maxed, even if you are lower level. Moving on from that then, let's talk Lord Zir himself, our big vampire boy. He is only in Torment, as are the other two, and for him you need something called Exquisite Blood. This comes from 2 specific places. Legion events around the world, you know the ones, they're on your map, they've got a timer, and then you were around killing all of the things and get really good XP and rewards. This will drop a blood for you. Then you have world bosses. They will drop 3 bloods for you. You need 9 in total to attempt him, so you are going to make sure to have to watch the map like a hawk and actually make it happen. The Legion events are quite slow way of doing it. Personally, I would just go to every world boss as it appears and just have that sort of passively happening in the background, and you'll slowly build up your Lord Zir attempts. There's nothing else to really speed it up or make them appear out of thin air like there is with, for example, Varshan's part swapping. So once you have them, this one is actually one that you might be like, I don't know where to go for this, it's not on my map, and that's because it's weirdly within one of the earliest story dungeons from the campaign, that being the Darkened Way in the Fractured Peak. So head there, go inside, and then a little bit into that you will actually have the dungeon that Lord Zir can be summoned in, the Ancient's Seat. And just like all the others, get to the end and use the altar, give it your offering, and watch him appear. This is the exact same fight as his fight is in the campaign, but of course turned up to 11. Now, the first 2, as they were also available in Nightmare, are tuned to be easier than these last 3. And if you are doing this at a lower level like I am, he does have a few attacks that might well one-shot you. Namely, the big, slow, wind-up front swipe, and then his tracking line blast that he will fire. Other than that, it's don't stand in the things and try and manage the ads as much as possible. He does a lot of teleporting and moving around, and if you don't have the defensives and healing and sustainability to handle it, you might actually fall to attrition here. Though it is at this point, I should say as a general tip, don't be afraid to offer the offering, use the items, and have a few goes. Even if you die, you don't lose the attempt at the boss, you just respawn and can keep trying forever until you either give up or do get the kill. You want as much burst as possible to get through him before he starts pulling out all of his shenanigans. But once you have defeated him, well, congratulations on your hopeful unique that he will reward you with. Then we can move on to the next one, Beast in the Ice, also Torment only, as I said, these last 3 are, and he is all about cold and frost, so you know what resist to stack to best counter him. Now, sadly, I have not actually fought him yet, because he requires a ridiculous amount of grinding to actually be able to challenge. It's kind of weird compared to the others, and maybe I've just got particularly unlucky, but that said, you will need Distilled Fear. This comes from Nightmare dungeons that are at least tier 31 or above. It's a very low random chance to get it when you complete the dungeon, and so far I've done about 30 Nightmare dungeons and only gotten 2 out of the 9 you are required to have to summon him. So, yeah. In any case, when you actually get to that 9, you want to head to not the Glacial Fissure where he's actually fought, because he is tied to the Nightmare dungeon system. If you just kind of run over here, what you will actually see is a completely blocked off gate with no way through it. So the way to make that happen then, as you might guess, is to go to the Occultist and actually craft it like you would a normal Nightmare Sigil, except it's this specific Glacial Fissure one. 9 Distilled Fear, a bunch of powder, and then you can activate it to then teleport to his dungeon with the gate unlocked and the ability to conquer him. This also does mean it'll have fixes, one positive and the negatives, while you are attempting the boss, so that plays a factor into it too. I seriously though cannot stress enough just how low drop rate this Distilled Fear seems to be, but you know, in theory, the most efficient way to farm it is to blow through nightmare dungeons, choose one that you can blow through, ignore every non-mandatory objective, and then just get to the end and roll those dice as often and as quickly as possible. Fortunately, he is not needed for anything other than his unique drops, so if you don't actually need something that he has for your class, you can kind of ignore this one and just let your general nightmare dungeon farming slowly build up attempts in the background, which is probably the intention when it comes to him. Lastly then, and not least, in fact, lastly and but not least then, or should I say last but most, is Mr. Maggot himself, Duriel. He is all about not just uniques, but uber uniques, and is the reason so many have dropped so far. So, Varshan and Grigoire are supposed to be, air quotes, easy, right? Certainly doable. You can just kind of throw yourself at them and you'll have a good time. The Beast in the Ice and Lord Zir are a step above, but all four of them are plenty farmable with just a basically good build from sort of level 60 onwards. Duriel himself, though, is supposed to be uber boss level. Not quite as bad as Lilith, but he's up there and a stern challenge, and all about poison, so you want to absolutely mammothly stack poison resist and get to that cap before fighting him, and you'll have a much easier time. You probably also want to be, you know, level 80 plus at a minimum and have some really nice high-rolled gear with some good affixes in a really solid top-tier build. He is definitively by far and away the hardest of the five then, but that is why he has the greatest rewards. Before we even talk about the uber uniques, he also drops all of the new general class uniques, including those sweet legs that give you more damage when you're unstoppable, the Godslayer crown for the extra pull-ins, basically the good stuff. And then, yes, the uber uniques, all of them with extra chance. It's still not crazy high extra chance, but it's enough extra chance that, as I said, we're seeing them. It turns out Blizzard really weren't exaggerating when they said in all likelihood you will know someone personally with an uber unique in Season 2. Now, how do you actually fight him then? Well, you come to here, the Gaping Crevasse, and, you hope for the best. And you also bring your offering. To summon Duriel then, you need the following 2 items, and 2 of each of them. The Mucus Slick Egg, oh, that's, delicious sounding, and the Shard of Agony. You get the Mucus Slick Egg from Varshan, you get 1 per kill of him, and you get the Shard of Agony from Grigoire, 1 per kill of him. So you need to do 2 lots of Varshan, 2 lots of Grigoire, and then you can have 1 go at Duriel. So at least he comes from just farming the other bosses, so that's a nice little double up. There you have it then, ladies and gentlemen. All of the new unique bosses, how they work, how you fight them, and the way to go about it, and perhaps most importantly, why you should really care about it. They're also just fun. It's nice to have some actual single target damage rewarding mechanically involved fights in Diablo, and is one of the many reasons that Season 2 just is the best the game has ever been. It's a low bar, but still, that remains true. For now then, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.